The proxy also has a cache, which is optional. The cache page is between proxy and upstream. The cache is enabled for OpenResty.org, and we can toggle it. And also you can configure a cache key by adding one or more variable values to the same key. So here we have two key components, UI and query string. And if we want, we can add more, like some UI argument full, or some request header bar, or user agent or scheme, if you prefer caching different versions of data for HTTP and HTTPS. Okay, let's delete this. We can also flush any cached pages with force. So just click this link and we can submit one or more cache flush jobs. It could be an absolute URL like this example, http OpenResty.org download OpenResty.tar.gz. We can specify multiple resources. Full, just some fake examples. You can have many separated by new lines. And alternatively, you can flush all resources under certain URI prefix. And here are some examples like CSS, JS. All the CSS files under this URL prefix will be flushed immediately. And so are those under JS directory. And once we are done, we can submit the jobs. And the cache flush jobs are submitted immediately across the gateway cluster. So it is not subject to the release process. Okay, let's cancel this. Okay, next, before the request reaches the proxy and cache, there's a phase that we can do request rewrites or early redirections. We can configure such rules in the request rewrite page. So here's the example configurations for the OpenResty.org website. For example, add custom rules like this. We can add even more rules by clicking on the new rule button. And then we can select an action, for example, to do a redirect. We can add even more actions, like add a request header. You can specify the header name and a header value. And for redirect, you can specify a target URL or some custom URL arguments, or even a different scheme, default to the current request scheme. And also you can change the host target and also the code, status code for the redirection. And also we can do some logging or generate some response body data without even going to the proxy, or we can remove some URL prefix and etc., or set a brand new URI for the current request, or do some rate limiting for the current request. You can specify a rate limiting key by limiting client IP addresses or URI or some other things. You can also specify a traffic shaping target, like we want to limit the traffic request rate at 10 requests per second per server. If the client sends a request faster than this threshold, we will delay them and make the request processing rate match this threshold. If the client sends the request too fast, we can also specify a hard limit, like 100 requests per second. Then in this case, the excessive client request will be rejected by returning a 503 error page. And we can also make these actions conditional by configuring a condition or several conditions and together, just like how we configure the proxy rule. So for example, we want to limit the host to just a subdomain like api.openresty.org, and we can choose exact string matching or something else like contains or contains words. And we can also apply some value transformer to the variable, like decode base 64 or decode hexadecimal. Again, we can add more values in a single comparison. So any one value matches, then the whole condition matches. Similarly, we can add more conditions, and these conditions are AND together. Okay, let's cancel this. So the order of the request to rewrite rules also matters. The order of the rules determines the order of their execution. So as you can see that we have many custom rules here. So the first rule is during a request rate limiting. So we have a soft limit at 20 requests per second and also a hard limit at 100. It's a non-conditional rule, so it's always applied. And the second rule, we have a look at the details. The second rule is doing a custom 302 redirection. So we redirect to this custom UI when the host name is con.openresty.org and URI equals to slash or slash cn slash. So this is essentially what this rule does. And another interesting example is this rule, the rule number 10. So this rule makes a conditional redirection based on the accept language header. So when the accept language header contains the word ZH, so this is a Chinese language, no matter simplified or traditional, and the URI equals to slash, and the host name equals to openresty.org, then we do a redirection to /cn/ with the status code 302 and also the current scheme and host name. So this is an example of doing internationalization or localization. And we also have a similar rule for accept language contains word English, so it can be very handy. Additionally, we also have custom edge language rules for more complicated rules. So the edge language is a domain-specific language designed by ourselves. It can very concisely and efficiently describe various different kinds of gateway logic. So here we have some complicated redirection rules. Each rule has a arrow symbol, and we have a condition here, and then the actions here. As we can see that the conditions can be nested. So all these rules won't be applied unless this outer scope condition is true. And we can also use regular expression in the Rx construct. And we can reference submatch capture in the action as $1, $2, $3, and etc. So these are special variables. We have a edge language user reference manual for you to look at. So these edge rules run after these form-based rules. And we can also add some edge language rules at the beginning of this phase. That is before all these rules. So basically it's like, for example, UI hello. Then we can generate a response body like hello world. So we can save it. So this rule will be triggered when the request UI is exactly /hello. It's not a prefix, just an exact match. We can actually test it without making a release. Regarding release, you can see that as soon as we save the new change, we've got a new notification message saying that you have one pending change to be released. So as I've mentioned before, configuration changes would require separate release operations to be made online. So we can click here or click here to see the unreleased change I just made. we can clear this change or release this change to the cloud. And also we can see all the historic releases made before with the release time and author of last change. We can also revert to any of these release, rolling back any recent changes since that release. So it can be very handy when some bad configurations are pushed to the edge. Okay, back to the request rewrite page. So to actually test this rule, we don't really have to make a new release. This is because we've got a test page. We can send a test request here without making a release. So basically the main website has a embedded edge node running in the same machine, so we can do A/B test here without risk breaking the online service. So host OpenResty.org. Oops. Execute this request. So we get a response. As expected, we got the response body hello world. So this way we know our rule works. So back to the rewrite page, and we can make a new release so that we can actually test the gateway clusters directly. So let's do that. So we make this one pending change, confirm it. Okay, it just takes several seconds to be pushed to all the nodes. We can watch the synchronization progress here. So now all the edge nodes have the latest configuration. So we made a new release here. Now let's test this gateway directly. Let's pick up a edge node IP address, and then we, in the command line, curl resolve OpenResty.org 80 http OpenResty.org hello. Okay, we can see that this edge node already has this new rule applied. We can also test it directly in the web browser. So OpenResty.org hello. We've got a hello world response. So it's already pushed online. Let's go back, and we can actually revert this release. Yes, I'm sure. Okay, it says I reverted successfully. Now let's run the test again. It gives me 404 not found as expected, because that rule is already gone. We can also change the order of the rules by clicking the change order button. Then we can move the rule upward or downward. And after the change, we can save the order. Now let's cancel this.